Good morning. I'm David Luthold, a member of our Board of Trustees, and I'm glad to welcome you to our Sunday services this morning at the UU Church of Columbia. We are a congregation striving to embody courageous love, radical welcome, and deep connection. And we are so glad you are here, bringing all that you are and all that you love and your deepest commitments to a more just world for all. Welcome. We are glad to be offering a live stream of our services, and we would like to extend our additional welcome to those of you joining online. We strive to make our worship accessible, and those of you at home or using screen readers in person can find an accessible order of service at our homepage at uu.como.org. If you're on Zoom, we also have automated captioning turned on. For those of you who are with us in person, we invite you to attend carefully to the safety of all by leaving plenty of space, wearing your masks, and greeting one another in a way that is comfortable to both parties. We will not be singing hymns together as an entire congregation, although humming is allowed. We'd like to particularly welcome any visitors among us this morning and invite you to find our guest book after the service in the entry if you did not already, or in the chat if you are with us online. We'd love to stay in touch with you about our goings-on. Children and babies are always welcome in worship, and we also have a lively children's religious education program and nursery care for our youngest ones. All nursery caregivers and RE teachers are masked and vaccinated. Children will depart for their classes after our time of embodied prayer. If you have a joy or sorrow you'd like spoken aloud during the service, you can write them on a yellow slip of paper, which is there, over there, to be included in our time of prayer. Or if you are online, please include your joys and sorrows in the chat now so that they can be relayed to the minister for our time of prayer. We invite you now to bring all your energy into this time and space with the help of our special guest performer, Sifa Bihomora. Thank you.
Good morning. I woke up in the morning.
Good morning. I'm here as a member of the Sanctuary and Immigrant Justice team that's responsible for your service this morning. Our opening words are by the Reverend Laura Bogle. Outside, the flags fly down the highway, hanging on the back of large trucks or the chest of a man. Outside, there is grabbing and taking, a staking and restaking of territory claimed, the roads cut, the oil burned, The blockades erected, the walls built. Outside, the borders between us are made visible in noise, in colors, ballots, signs and signals. Inside resides the breath of common ancestors, the child who plays with no thought of malice, the head turned toward suffering, the taste of figs ripening in the lingering autumn heat, the sliver of an orange moon low in the evening November sky. Inside begins something you might call a prayer. Let us kneel down, not to God or nation or ideology, but to what is inside. A feeling, a connection, a welling like the waters at the very beginning of time, unpolluted and gently flowing, sweet and dark and healing. Let us kneel down to the persistent possibility that life and love prevail. Let us release what is inside outward in beauty, spilling towards each other until all merges. Unstoppable well of knowing that we will only ever be saved by one another.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love as a seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and love is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without this world we'll die. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry.
feel the spirit in this place. The Flaming Chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, originated as a symbol of help during the rise of the Nazi occupation in Europe, when the Unitarian Service Committee needed a calling card so folks would know that they were there to help Jewish refugees and others make their way to safety. It was an image that said, "Here is shelter. Here is freedom." We seek always in every era to live up to that symbol of sacrifice and hope, that we may each be light for one another. We now light our chalice, the symbol of our faith, in the community that holds and the bright flame of the human spirit that unites and sustains. As I light our chalice, will you join me in our weekly words of affirmation printed in your order of service? Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning. I'm Tim Dickerson. I'm one of the worship associates here. And for our centering moment, we're going to be sharing these words by Alice and Acheka Naisman. In a world so filled with brokenness and sorrow, it would be easy to lose ourselves in never-ending grief, to be choked by our outrage, to be paralyzed by the enormity of suffering, to feel our hearts squeezed tight with hopelessness. But instead this morning, let us simply breathe together as we hold our hearts open. Breathing in as our hearts fill with compassion. Breathing out as we pray for healing in our world and in our lives. Breathing in, opening ourselves to the transforming power of love. Breathing out as we pray for peace in our world and in our lives. Breathing in as we hold hope in our hearts. Breathing out as we pray for justice in our world and in our lives. May we know our strength. May we be filled with courage. May our love flow from us into this world. Breathing in, we are the prayer. Breathing out, we are the healing. Breathing in, we are the love. Breathing out, we are the peace. Breathing in, we are the hope. Breathing out, we are the justice. May we know our strength. May we be filled with courage. May our love flow from us into this world.
Now, during a moment of contemplative music, I invite you into our weekly ritual of stones and water. For those of you tuning in at home, I hope that you will take a moment of quiet contemplation wherever you are, imagining the burdens of your heart lifted and held by our community as you listen to the music. For those of you with us in the room, you are welcome to come forward and take a stone. Infuse it with all that you carry with you today, the hopes, fears, prayers that you have on your heart. And then drop the stone into the water, which represents the embrace of our community. Those of you who wish to have your joy or sorrow or prayer spoken out loud may write it on a yellow slip over here and put it in the basket, as we also receive joys and sorrows submitted online from our live stream team. I now invite you all, as you are moved and if you are moved, into our ritual together. And we now invite our children who will be attending their Sunday school classes today to find their teachers in the back of the room and join in your Sunday school classes as Violet sings you out.
Walk in joy, go in peace, hold all our love as we part. Walk in joy, go in peace, hold all our love in our heart.
Let us now take a moment of silence to center ourselves in the spirit of love as we prepare to hold the spoken and unspoken joys and sorrows of our community. As we share our joys and sorrows, we invite your embodied response if you feel so moved. For joys, we lift our hands in the air and give spirit fingers. For sorrows or prayers or concerns, a hand or both over the heart. We join our hearts with Heidi Shearer, who shares joy that after 10 years of public service, school loans have been forgiven. We join our hearts with Ellen Atkins, sharing joy for our choir to resume rehearsals this next week. And Ellen's joy for meeting and enjoying the music of Sifa this morning. Hope we will be supporters and friends. We join our hearts with Crystal Buffalo in sharing joy for the library workers coming together to fight for a union. Power to the people. We join our hearts with Crystal and so many others online, sharing deep sorrow for the citizens of the Ukraine. Steph Anderson expresses heartfelt sorrow for the fear and uncertainty the Ukrainian people have experienced over this last week, and prays may their courage and bravery be felt and honored for all time. Steph shares stunned heartbreak over the state of the world. And Nguyen and many others also share deep sorrow for Ukraine. We join our hearts with David Leuthold in sharing sorrow for lifelong friend John Badgley, who fell last Sunday and is not expected to survive. I share joy for my godson in Georgia, Oscar, who will turn 2 sometime between Monday night and Tuesday morning, our little leap baby. And his beautiful mom, Karen. We join our hearts with Megan Gore, who shares joy for the uplift of this service and deep gratitude for Sifa, bringing her powerful voice. We share our hearts with Sarah Wolcott Twaddle, who has a sorrow and a joy to share. After several years of failing health, her sister died on Wednesday evening in Farmington, Connecticut, where she had wonderful caregivers and was able to speak to Sarah the day before she passed. Sarah shares joy that last October, she and her daughter spent time with that sister and delighted in being together for meals and excursions, remembering their life together. And last, we join our hearts with Nguyen and many who share joy for the technology that allows us to be together in this room and all over town and all across our country. We are surely linked together and sharing our service. We continue in prayer with the words of the Reverend Elizabeth Nguyen. God of mercy, Spirit who makes peace out of war, who wanders with refugees and keeps vigil with children at our border and all borders. Holy healer in hospitals and shelters, at schools, in homes, at weddings, and in planes, may your love be a balm for all hurt. May your truth be present in the offices of power and in the hearts of soldiers and civilians alike. Many times we've thought the arc was bending toward justice. Many times we saw it happen in courtrooms and in streets, in the hearts of people creating their own liberation. Many times we've also doubted. For those of us this morning in doubt, who despair that brokenness and suffering and war may win, remind us of the small mercies, the courage of ordinary people, the tiny triumphs. Remind us that hope does dwell in this world, and help us to be agents of that hope. As we receive that hope, even in this moment. Amen. And we are going to share a song that we are sharing this morning as a prayer for the people of Ukraine. It's to the beloved tune Finlandia. This is my song, O God of all the nations. We're going to share a picture of a field of sunflowers, the national flower of Ukraine, and hold the people there deep in heart. Commit ourselves to every action that may support their freedom, and listen together to the song.
This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and wide. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on coloured leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine.
Amen. In a poem in his daily prayer book, the Irish poet Pádraig Ó Tuama examines an old Irish proverb. Scéit a chéile a bhíreann na daoine, which is frequently translated, in the shelter of one another, the people live. In his poem, though, Ó Tuama shows us that the phrase has more than one valid translation. It more literally means people exist in each other's shadows. Ó Tuama runs a Christian peace and reconciliation center in Northern Ireland called the Coromila Community, which was founded in 1965 to aid all affected by the Northern Irish conflict. He knows intimately that we live in both the shelter and the shadow of one another. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe in the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And I have often preached that the interconnected web of life can be a gorgeous net to catch us, but it can also be a spider's weapon to trap and kill. We are tangled up in one another's lives for good and for ill. What matters to our faith is not so much the fact of our entanglement as our attention to it and our attunement to one another. Will we be shelter or shadow? This response to our interdependence, this choice to be shelter or shadow, belongs to each of us. And there is so much in shadow right now. Russia's authoritarian Putin, mad for power and land, seeking to possess always more, has invaded the growing democracy in Ukraine. Ukrainians are fleeing to Poland or staying to fight or sheltering underground. Parents are putting stickers on their children with their blood types, preparing for a possibility I don't want to let myself imagine. And here, the agents of imperial power are still enforcing our own southern borders with unimagined violence and inhumanity. And would-be authoritarians and extremist-led state governments are banning books and trying to remove access to affirming health care from trans kids whose lives depend upon being seen and known as themselves. And it is all of a piece, all the work of soulless men in pursuit of power and influence, all the logic of empire, all the ways lines are drawn and walls are built to shut out the light we could be for one another. There is so much in shadow. And there is shelter too. In Ukraine, school teachers are taking up arms to defend their country. President Zelensky has refused a golden parachute and remained to lead. Grandmothers are cursing Russian invaders with sunflower seeds for their pockets. Nurses are steadily pumping air into the lungs of NICU babies in a subway station. In Russia, even after decades of violent repression, people of conscience are protesting their government's immoral act. And here, there are courageous migrants enduring unimaginable hardship upon policy violence, upon systemic neglect, all for their children's future and their own, showing us what courage is. And there are those who leave water at the border and walk the Arizona desert seeking to save lives. And librarians are getting controversial books into the hands of children who need stories like bread. And teachers and ministers and parents, doctors and communities are rallying to protect trans kids and give them the care they deserve. And that is all of a piece too. How bravely we show up for one another. How human it is to gather together in the circle of each other's arms. There is shelter. There is shadow and shelter, and we are caught up in all of it. We are, some of us, shivering in the shade, longing for light and warmth. We are, some of us, casting shadows we don't even see and without ever meaning to. We are, some of us, huddled in gratitude in the embrace of another. We are, some of us, sheltering others in the great circle of our expanding love. We are, many of us, caught up in all of that, all at once. But we can choose. This is the secret that the logic of empire withholds from us, the truth that borders and boxes and book bans seek to obscure. We can choose. Our arms together are wider than we think and stronger than we know. We can be shelter and be sheltered. We can bring each other light and warmth. We can choose.
You're the sun to my moon. Hope I see you soon. Where you go, I will be. Anything you ask me. If you fall, I won't be far. You're the key to my heart. You're 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 the sun to my moon. Hope I see you soon. Where you go, I will be. Anything you ask me. If you fall, I won't be far. You're the key to my heart. You're 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 the sun to my moon. Hope I see you soon. Where you go, I will be. Anything you ask me. If you fall, I won't be far. You're the key to my heart. You're 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 my heart. I'll be there knocking at the door. 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 Knocking at the door.
Good morning. My name is Dave Gibbons, and along with Ali Gassman, we are the co-chairs of the Sanctuary and Immigrant Justice team here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbia. The other members of the team, some of which are here, Barbara Bouchard, Joe Donaldson, who we need to extend get well wishes because Joe was planning to be here this morning, and so we wish him well from home. Jeremy Duke, Rosie Geiser, Rosie's here, Tim Grove, Christine Heath, right over here, Anna Lingo in the back, wave Anna, Dottie Matthews, Ruth Millage, who you heard from this morning in the opening words, and Kaya Tansky. Did I leave anybody out, Allie? Okay. This morning, I would like to share a story, although first, I want to say that I believe this country has a broken and unjust immigration system. But amidst this injustice, there are also lights of compassion, shelter, as we heard earlier. I would like to tell you about a journey lit with lights of compassion, and some in unlikely places. I know there were many such lights along this journey, although today I would like to share 10 of them. There are candles here in the sanctuary, and they will be lit during the story to represent the lights of compassion. I also will be sharing some photos, and I will do my best to describe them. This story is about a journey that began in Guatemala. Although I am only sharing the part of that journey that, as I know it, started in the beautiful part of the United States called Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument. This is a photo of the artfully crafted sign for the park with the desert and cactus behind it. This national monument is managed by the National Park Service, and it's located in the stunning but also unforgiving Sonoran Desert. And I was fortunate to have just been there. This is a photo of the desert with cactus and the Ajo Mountains in the background. This next photo is of cirrus clouds in a blue sky and a rather large organ pipe cactus from which you can almost imagine organ music being played. When I was there, the beautiful spring colors of the desert had not yet arrived, but I thought I would share this next photo of the desert and Mexican gold poppies with both the saguaro and the organ pipe cactus. The poppies will be in bloom in a couple months or so. This beautiful place also has a monstrosity, which can be seen in the distance of this next photo. Before the mountains is a faint line going up a hillside. This is part of the 30 miles of border wall that was built during the last administration along the southern edge of the National Monument. This next photo is a closer view of the wall going up the hillside with cactus in the foreground. The next photo is a closer view of the 30-foot high metal wall through which Mexican Highway 2 can be seen on the other side of the wall, as well as the Mexican mountains in the background. And the next photo, in my opinion, shows the ugliness of the wall that was built by destroying a 30-mile swath of the desert. And it is now lit with tall lights throughout the night. I'm sharing these photos of the wall because this is where our story begins. In the story, a young single mother with her 4-year-old son fled violence in Guatemala and began a challenging and dangerous journey with the hope of making a claim for asylum in this country. On October 22nd, 2020, they made it to the U.S. side of the border wall. The mom was 9 months pregnant. They had not eaten anything since the day before. Night was falling, and the first light of compassion arrived. It was someone on the Mexican side of the border wall who passed food and water through the wall. This next photo shows how that could be possible through the metal bars in that wall. After eating, the mom's labor began. The stranger stayed with her on the other side of the wall, encouraging her to wait where she was, and the Border Patrol would find her, which around midnight they did. We have seen the news, read the stories of terrible Border Patrol confrontations with immigrants. We saw the horrifying picture of a Border Patrol person on horseback with a whip chasing people away from the border. But in this story, the response of the Border Patrol to the mom in her emergency was instead the second light of compassion. The mom and her son were rushed to the Border Patrol facility in Ajo, Arizona, 35 miles north of the border. And this is a photo of that Border Patrol facility. From there, the third light of compassion. The Ajo Fire Department rushed her 120 miles to Tucson, to the hospital in Tucson. In the early morning hours of October 23rd, the fourth light of compassion, which was more of a chandelier, as multiple healthcare workers helped deliver a healthy baby girl and cared for the mom and her baby for several days. And social workers provided for the 4-year-old boy, making sure he was not separated from his mom and baby sister. In Tucson, all the hospitals have in them Border Patrol personnel. And when undocumented immigrants are released from the hospitals, they are released in the custody of the Border Patrol. In many, if not most, of these cases, they are immediately deported or placed in detention. Although the Guatemalan family was released from the hospital in the custody of the Border Patrol, our story is different. This is the fifth light of compassion. Mom is questioned by Immigration and Customs Enforcement personnel, commonly known as ICE, and instead of detention or deportation, the family is released on their own recognizance with instructions to report to immigration officials. And not only is the family released, the ICE personnel took them to Casa Alitas, the sixth light of compassion, another chandelier. This photo is a colorful entryway, one of the entryways to Casa Alitas, a door with multiple colors. This next photo is a welcome sign on a brick wall inside Casa Alitas that says, Bienvenidos a Casa Alitas 2020, that translates to welcome to Casa Alitas 2020. And this photo is a group of people inside Casa Alitas with the colorful walls in the background painted purple, orange, tan, green, and pink. Casa Alitas is a Catholic ministry in Tucson that processes and provides thousands of immigrants until they go to family members, sponsors, or other places around the country. And at Casa Alitas, many staff members and volunteers provided much care and resources to the Guatemalan family. In February 2020, 7 months before the Guatemalan family arrived, and with no idea of any future connection to this story, my partner and sweetheart, Kim Ryan, who's here with us this morning, we received a tour of Casa Alitas from Cheryl Smith, a friend of ours who volunteers there. For me, there is something wonderfully delightful about such connections. After being lovingly cared for by Casa Alitas, the seventh light of compassion for this family was being lit all the way across the country in Comer, Georgia, near the University of Georgia in Athens. There, a ministry in Comer called Jubilee Partners provides temporary housing and other services to newly arriving refugees. Here's their sign outside Jubilee Partners hanging from a post. The next photo is a sign at Jubilee Partners that says, "Welcome," in many different languages. When the previous administration cut back on the number of refugees allowed in this country, Jubilee Partners began providing for asylum seekers. After the Guatemalan family arrived, Mom began learning English, and the boy, who would turn 5 during their 6-month stay, attended a Head Start program. The 8th Light of Compassion is right here in Columbia, Missouri. It is you, the wonderful people of the UU Church in Columbia, and here is a photo of our building. A little different weather out there today in that photo. In 2017, after learning about sanctuary in churches, this community made the discernment to become a sanctuary congregation. And then later in 2021, with no one in sanctuary, made the decision that sponsoring asylum seekers was an extension of being a sanctuary congregation. Thank you. Thank you, UUCC. The 9th Light of Compassion should be no surprise to this congregation. She won't like being called a Light of Compassion because she just believes in the work she does. It's our own Reverend Dottie Matthews, who in retirement volunteered to find sponsors for asylum seekers. Without sponsors, arriving asylum seekers are often placed in detention, and many unfortunately linger there. Dottie's work eventually took her to volunteering for the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, connecting congregations willing to be sponsors to asylum seekers. Through this work, Dottie learned of the Guatemalan family in Georgia, and she approached the Sanctuary and Immigrant Justice team about UUCC sponsoring a family. Based on the decision this congregation made, the team was able to say, yes, we will provide sponsorship. And finally, the 10th Light of Compassion is another chandelier. It represents everyone at UUCC and outside UUCC who contributed household items that were needed, provided translation. Thank you, Allie and others, provided transportation, made financial contributions, and continue to do all these things and more. And the brightest light of this chandelier is our own Christine Heath, who, upon hearing of the need of housing for this family, responded by offering her home to live in with her and her father, Malcolm. I believe this truly exemplifies the radical welcome and deep connection we espouse as a Unitarian Universalist community. Compassion is one way we choose to respond to injustice and to the needs of others, and I am extremely grateful for all the lights of compassion in this story. And I am especially grateful to all the lights of compassion that are part of this story right here at UUCC. Thank you all so very much. Queda una vela más por encender, y esta es para esta familia guatemalteca y representa la luz que traen a nuestra comunidad y a nuestra iglesia por su presencia aquí. My poor attempt at Spanish, which translates to, there is one more light, one more candle to light. And this one is for this Guatemalan family, and it represents the light they bring to our community and into our church by their presence here. And now, would you like to meet this Guatemalan family?
This is Lily, Lakshmi, and Manuel.
Hi.
Can you wave? Can you say hi? Good job, thank you.
Hola a todos.
Hello to all of you.
Gusto en conocerles.
It's so good to meet you.
Gracias por la oportunidad brindada
Thank you for this opportunity you're offering me
en estar acá en esta hermosa mañana,
to be here today on this gorgeous morning
expresándoles de todo corazón
to let you know from the bottom of my heart
mis más sinceras palabras de agradecimiento.
my most sincere words of gratitude.
Antes que todo,
Above all else,
quiero dar infinitas gracias a Dios
I want to give thanks to God
por permitirnos estar acá en esta bella nación
for allowing us to be here in this beautiful nation
que nos acogió sin importar raza o sexo.
that accepted us without, no matter our race or our sex.
Que Dios bendiga este país.
May God bless this nation.
Estados Unidos ahora es como mi segunda casa.
The United States is now like my second home,
Que no nos ha dejado desprotegidos.
that has not left us unprotected.
Gracias por ser nuestros ángeles en nuestro camino.
Thank you for being our angels along our path.
Gracias por siempre estar al pendiente de nosotros.
Thank you for always watching out for us.
Gracias por cuidarnos y protegernos.
Thank you for your concern and for protecting us.
Gracias por no desampararnos.
Thank you for not abandoning us.
Gracias por preocuparse por nuestro bienestar.
Thank you for your concern for our well-being.
Gracias a doña Christine y a su papá, don Malcolm, por recibirnos en su casa.
Thank you to Christine and to Malcolm for welcoming us into their home.
Gracias por todos los apoyos brindados al conducir a nuestras citas.
Thank you for all the support you have offered us in driving us to our appointments.
Gracias por apoyarme con un psicólogo que me ha ayudado bastante.
Thank you for supporting me with a psychologist who has helped me a lot.
Gracias por preocuparse y apoyar a mis seres queridos en Guatemala.
Thank you for being concerned and for supporting my loved ones in Guatemala.
Gracias por todos los objetos y regalos que con mucho amor ustedes mandan y yo recibo.
Thank you for all the things and all the gifts you have, with love, given to us and that we have received with love.
Gracias por todo, que Dios los bendiga grandemente. Gracias por ser tan bondadosos.
Thank you. Thank you for everything. May God bless you abundantly.
Muchas gracias. God bless you. ¿Quieres decir gracias? Gracias.
Okay, Manuel, you want to go back downstairs?
Can I just say a brief word really quickly to Lily? Lily y familia, gracias por enseñarnos sobre el coraje y la belleza de nuestras conexiones. Lamentamos el trauma que han sufrido y lo amamos a usted y a su familia.
Gracias, Dios los bendiga.
Gracias. I said, Lily, thank you for teaching us about courage and the beauty of our connections. We are sorry for the trauma you have endured, and we love you and your family. And we will now hear more about the work of our team after Tim introduces them.
Now is the time in our service when we join in the spiritual practice of generosity. As one way that we care for each other and our community, remembering that it is by sharing and supporting one another that we feel most human. Today's offering is a Faith to Action collection for the Sanctuary and Immigration Justice Fund of our congregation. And our own Allie Gassman will be telling you a bit more about their work. Then, during another song from our incredible musical guest, our ushers will move through the sanctuary for those who wish to give to the offering plate. Online and text giving options are available in the order of service, both in person and online. Allie, thank you for introducing today's offering.
Let me start off by telling you that Yadira, Edler, and their two girls, whom we at UUCC helped sponsor in their effort to seek asylum in the pre-pandemic times, are doing very well. By now, Yadira and Edler have their work permits, and the girls are doing well in school. And the wonderful news is they have a new baby girl, just born in January, called Luna. We have heard so many inspirational words throughout this service, including in poetry and in song, and I don't think I have much I can add to that. By giving to our Faith to Action collection today, you are helping the Sanctuary and Immigrant Justice team do the work of embracing, watching out for, and not abandoning those who come to our country, because it is their last resort to flee violence, death, and abject poverty and hopelessness in their countries, and maybe homelessness as well. May we all together continue to be those angels along the paths and those lights of compassion along the ways of those who are seeking refuge and asylum. Because in all truth, people like Lily and Manuel and Lakshmi, Yadira, Edler, Gabby, Alejandra, and baby Luna are the angels and lights that are on our paths as well, lighting and brightening our ways for us. With profound gratitude and awe for what our congregation is capable of, I thank you.
Call me, call me, call me, Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you again so much to Sifa for the incredible music and energy for our congregation this morning. Can we give her one more round of applause? Y gracias a Lily Familia para estar aquí hoy. And thank you to Lily and family for being here today, for being a light of courage and connection for our community. Gracias. Gracias. Before we share our closing words and benediction, I have two brief announcements. The first is that room at the inn, our Columbia's emergency overnight winter shelter, is moving back into our building for the end of their season this week. Yay, wonderful. And so what that means is before you depart, if this is a thing that works for your body to help move chairs off to the edges of the sanctuary, we would love some assistance with getting some things moved to make space as they'll be moving in later this afternoon. My second announcement is to briefly give you an update on our stewardship campaign. We are about 2/3 of the way through our annual giving drive when we ask our members and friends to make their financial commitments to our church for the coming year, as our work and mission is totally funded by our people, by us. And I want to let you know that we've heard from about 1/3 of our members and friends, and so we'd love to hear from those from whom we haven't heard from yet. If you love being a part of a community that celebrates our worship services with a drag queen and queer theology, give. If you love being part of a community that has incredible guest musicians brought in by an incredible music director, give. If you love being part of a community that is currently offering comprehensive sexuality education in age-appropriate and developmentally appropriate ways to both our kindergartners, my kids down there right now, and our high schoolers, give. Yes. If you love being a part of a sanctuary congregation, give. If you love so many things about what our congregation is putting out into the world and into our community, and if you receive hope and spiritual sustenance and inspiration here, as I do every single day, we invite you to support our congregation. We are asking those who can consider increases to their gifts to consider them as we recover from the financial challenges of the last 2 pandemic years. You can find out more on our website at uucomo.org/pledge. And we're really looking forward to hearing from all of you as we wrap up in the next 2 weeks a wonderful pledge drive. Thank you to our stewardship team for leading us so well in that. Yay! There's our, if you have any questions, our co-chairs are here today. Susan Even, if you would stand up, and Rosie Geiser, if you would stand up. Thank you. Any questions about our generosity campaign, they would love to answer for you. And so now our closing words are from the Reverend Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The stakes are very high. The path is never clear. Take courage. For deep down, there is another truth. You are not alone. Our arms are wider than we know and stronger than we can imagine. We are surrounded by lights of compassion. We can be lights for one another. And so go in blessing and be a blessing to a world that needs our care. And as we're about to depart this space anyway, let's fill it up with singing air particles and sing together our benediction.